Bastien Treptel, welcome. So it's not clear exactly what these obligations on the big companies would be, but does it sound like the federal government is on the right path with this?
Look, in my opinion, the politicians have probably made a poor decision here. Yes, I'm glad that we're taking this seriously now, but if you look at the legislation they're proposing, how is it going to be possible for a normal citizen to go against Google? We've had multiple examples in Australia where even the government have said to Google or Facebook, "Look, we want to change your behavior," and they flat out said no. So I don't think, whilst it's a step in the right direction, the average consumer is going to have some extra legal rights, but how are they actually going to go and get their money back?
And so the government should have adopted this UK model where the banks are held primarily responsible?
Absolutely. In my opinion, the banks have bigger legal teams. If the banks start losing money, you can bet your bottom dollar they're going to do something about it, and they'll take some kind of class action against these scammers. And that's what we need to do. That's what the UK have done. It's working effectively. I think actually in Australia, we're probably one of the worst off Western countries in terms of being scammed. In fact, I've had the privilege of going to visit some of these scam call centers all over the world, and they target us because they believe we're an easy target and the laws here are lax.
Yeah, and so the government should go down this UK path. What have you've just mentioned it briefly there, but what have you heard about just how effectively it's working?
Look, I think it's effective because the banks have to pay you back straight away. So I've had lots of people reach out to me and say, look, we've lost our home deposit. We've had loans taken out into their names, and the banks just don't have to do anything about it here in Australia. I think we're one of the only countries in the world where the banks aren't legislated to do something about that. And if you get your money back straight away, then the bank will go and chase up Google. The bank will go and chase up Facebook. And the other problem I see with this legislation is I, as an ex-criminal hacker, can think of 4 or 5 different ways to still harm individuals that this legislation just won't stop.
And so can you give us some examples of those?
Yeah, look, I don't want to make this a how-to hack segment. Definitely don't want to give any young hackers any advice, but
yeah, well,
things
well,
around
maybe
identity breaching.
Bastien, yeah, you make a good point there. So maybe it's best if we don't actually go down that path, but leave the officials aware that there are still ways around this. The government in this announcement today is saying banks will have to have confirmation of payee technology, so a customer is alerted before paying if the account receiving their money is owned by the person they want to pay or someone else. Does that sound like something the banks it's good to have that obligation on the banks?
Yeah, absolutely. The issue is one of the ways that I can think around this would be very easy to trick the identity systems that the banks currently use. And it probably speaks to a greater problem in Australia that we need to solve identity so that computers know who we are better than our family know who we are. With the advent of deep fakes and all this new technology with AI, it's all too easy to trick these systems. And I don't think that particular legislation is going to stop that much scamming, but it is a step in the right direction.
Yeah. Another example, after being informed of a scam, banks will have to report it to authorities and rapidly respond to attempt to stop a payment going through.
Yeah, I think that is brilliant. And some banks are already doing this. They put a 4-hour cap or a 24-hour cap. It can be very frustrating from a business point of view. So we kind of want to find that balance of we want Australia to flourish and businesses to do well, but we also want to have a way to retract people's money. So having that kind of scam alert and you can call the bank and retract that money rather than right now the money disappears out of your account, it goes into pending and it's gone into the scammer's hands, whether it be overseas or to a local criminal. That does need to stop.
Digital platforms like Facebook, YouTube and Google would have to verify the identity of advertisers and ensure their content is legal. Taking into account the amount of money that people have lost through scams that are advertised on these big platforms, do you really think though the tech giants are going to comply with that?
Unfortunately, I don't think they will. We've had so many examples here in Australia where tech giants have been told to do something and they kind of try their best. But again, you've got these criminals who are so good at sidestepping the rules. You've got these irresponsible giant corporations and Google's, main mission statement, don't be evil. I don't think they've really achieved that all over the world. But look, honestly, I don't think that they're going to comply in any real meaningful way that's going to stop scammers walking around these systems.
But if they didn't comply on that front, wouldn't that be a pretty straightforward example of how people could hold them to account? Someone put 40 grand into a crypto scam and couldn't get their money back that was advertised on Facebook. It's pretty clear where the responsibility lies there. Isn't that an example of where this legislation would work if a consumer's ripped off?
I mean, if we play it through end to end, let's say I get ripped off $40,000, or let's make it a bit more. Let's make it $100,000. It's the onus. I have the legal right now to complain against Google. And yes, you might have it written in the letter of the law, but they have huge legal teams. It will probably cost you more than you lost just to go and contest this in court. I just don't think the average citizen has the resources to go after these giants, and they may well tie you up for decades knowing that you don't have these resources, and all these cases just fade away. That's why I believe the banks should ultimately have the right to go over these giants, because they can create a class action and they do have the resources, and they are likely to succeed if law is broken, whereas an individual citizen is all too easily brushed under the carpet, in my opinion.
Okay, Bastien Treptel, thanks for talking to us from Melbourne.
Thanks, Joe.